Am I the a-hole for canceling my niece's college fund upon discovering what she's been doing to me and my wife for months? My wife and I struggled with infertility for years. We're still trying more options, but we're beginning to lose hope. I have a 16-year-old niece that is like a daughter and a friend to me. Considering I'm doing well financially, I've decided to take care of her education and start a college fund so she could attend a college of her choice. My brother and his wife, my niece's stepmom, are of course aware of that, and they appreciate it very much. They always talk about what a generous, loving uncle I am, like my younger brother. I've been dealing with a series of unusual, unexplainable events, like receiving texts at work from someone pretending to be my wife, informing me of some big news like her being pregnant, or finding mysterious envelopes in my car when I'm at my parents', and the envelopes contained letters from someone also pretending to be my wife, and again telling me she was pregnant. My wife and I had no idea who's been playing us like that. We knew it was someone close, and had many that made our suspect list, including my brother-in-law. Last week, I was visiting my brother's house and my car was parked in their driveway. I was sitting with my brother and sister-in-law when my niece left for a few minutes, then returned. I finished my coffee and said goodbye and left. While I was approaching my car, I noticed a sign on the windshield. I took a look, and the sign read, "I'm pregnant," written largely. I was confused because I knew no one from this neighborhood, and suspected someone who knew me did it. I called my wife, and she again said this was false news. I took the sign and went back to my brother's house to help figure this out. He said someone must have left it in the wrong car, but I explained it happened before. He just shrugged. But sister-in-law pointed at the sign and said the writing looked similar to my niece's writing style. My brother told her to stop, but I called my niece to come downstairs and ask her. She denied, but got nervous and admitted leaving the sign on my windshield, as well as sending/leaving letters and texts pretending to be my wife. But didn't have ill intent, just did it for laughs. I blew up, telling her she was out of line to think mocking mine and my wife's suffering and playing us for months was funny. I said I was mad, and that I was disappointed and won't ever look at her the same. I informed her, my brother and sister-in-law, that I officially canceled the college fund I started for her due to her cruelty and disrespect for us. She broke down saying she meant no harm or disrespect, and was just messing with/teasing me. My brother said I can't actually make this decision based on small mistake my niece made. He said this is her future that I was giving up on, and my decision will have a lasting impact. I cut the conversation and left after he tried to talk me out of giving her this harsh punishment. But to me, this was no punishment. Just realizing she didn't deserve my hard-earned money. Brother said I exaggerated, and he actually thinks punishing her by taking away electronics and having her do work around the house should be enough punishment, not canceling the fund I started for her. But I already told him canceling the fund was not a punishment, but a reaction from me upon finding out what she's been doing for over 2 months. Now for the top comments. Not today, home, but it probably wouldn't hurt if you sent her a few mysterious texts that said, "You won a scholarship," just for laughs. I'd love that. Maybe then she'll learn that saying "I meant no harm" means jack, after months of causing harm. Not today, home, and your brother has no right to demand your money for anything. In what world would she believe this was funny? Why would you think that? Brother's immediate reaction of trying to shut down stepmom makes me think he was more aware of what was happening than has been let on. I thought the same thing. He had to know what was going on to deny and try to redirect so quickly. I get teens can be malicious, but it just seems weird for a teen to go this way when she's clearly close to both of them. So how much influence has her dad had on her actions? His reaction just makes me think something more is afoot. Not today, home. Put the money towards fertility treatments, or whatever path you chose. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for taking back the money I promised my daughter for her trip after she refused to watch her younger siblings for the evening? My daughter Zoe, 17, has been planning a trip with her friends for weeks and asked for my wife's and my help with money. I promised her that I'll be paying for her part of the trip, which is about $80 from stuff she needs for the trip, food and other expenses. Zoe appreciated this a lot since she normally pays for trips and other fun things with her own money, but she left her summer job not too long ago. 2 days ago was my wife and I's wedding anniversary. We planned to go out and celebrate in the evening, and I asked Zoe if she could watch her younger siblings, 3 and 9, while we're out. She said, "Sorry, I have plans for tonight," I asked her to elaborate, and she said she wanted to meet her best friend at a party before she leaves town, as her friend will be moving away this month. She suggested we get a babysitter, but it was already late for me to call and arrange for a babysitter. My wife suggested calling my sister, but my sister has enough on her plate to be watching our kids. I tried to convince Zoe to skip going out and watch her brothers, but she refused, and said my wife and I could stay home and celebrate. But I told her we already reserved a table at a restaurant. I was getting pissed and brought up the trip that I was paying for, and told her I would take the money back if she refused to watch her brothers for the evening. She said no, so I told her no trip then, unless she gets the money herself because I'm no longer paying for it. She screamed at me, calling me unbelievable for taking money back just because she wanted to attend her best friend's goodbye party and not wanting responsibility for her brothers. I refused to discuss it. I took the kids to my mother's house and left. My wife said I was too harsh on Zoe, especially since it's not her fault she doesn't want to be responsible for her brothers for the evening. I was puzzled. I told her it's just one evening. But still my wife thought I punished Zoe over nothing by taking the money I promised for her trip. Zoe isn't speaking to me, just cold-shouldering me because of this. Edit. I just checked the comments and some were asking why I notified her last minute. The answer is because I assumed she'd be home like usual, so I never thought of needing to get a sitter. You're the a-hole. 2 points. Firstly, if the $80 gift had a strings attached, you ought to have made that clear from the onset. Introducing conditions retroactively sets the precedence that your gifts aren't really gifts at all, but tools used to manipulate and control. Secondly, you ought to have provided your daughter with sufficient notice, so that she can plan her schedule. What you did shows that you have zero respect for her time, and that you expect unquestioning obedience from her. Zero respect and expecting unquestioning obedience. That's OB in a nutshell. Complete a-hole. She suggested we get a babysitter, but it was already late. So it's too late to call a babysitter, but it's fine to not give your daughter any notice? You're the a-hole. Your daughter makes plans like you do, and deserves some notice if you want her to babysit. Respect this. Also, OB reserved a table. If he had time to reserve a table, he had time to either get a babysitter or give enough notice to his daughter. Your poor planning skills is not the fault of your daughter. She had plans, and you acted like a child when dealing with her. You're the a-hole. Clearly you had other options, because you took them to your mother's house. This is a joke, right? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Doesn't even sound like you asked in advance or tried to find a sitter at all. You waited until the last second when you felt she would have no option but to say yes. She called you on your nonsense, and now you were pissed about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not forcing my daughter to spend the night at her bi-dad's house? I, 36 female, have a daughter, Lucy, 10. She was not quite 2 yet when I divorced her father, Larry, 40. There were many reasons. Firstly, he would claim to be taking money from our account to pay bills, yet every single bill was delinquent. He would check the mail and hide the shut-off notices. He was never able to explain what he was doing with our money. Also, I'd work all day to come home to my daughter in a dirty diaper, alone in her nursery, while he sat around playing video games all day. Anyway, I decided it was best for all of us to divorce. I've been with Lucy's stepdad, Thomas, 35, for almost 4 years now, and he is the only other man I've had around her. We are all very amicable, though. I've never brought her bi-dad to court for child support, as I agreed to handle it privately. Same with custody. She lives with Thomas and I full-time. Larry's supposed to pick her up Saturday night, and we would pick her back up Sunday by noon. He has a history of canceling on her for various reasons. Concerts, baseball games, anything under the sun. He was doing well for a while where he wouldn't cancel, until he met his most current girlfriend, Dolores, 33. Dolores has a 12-year-old daughter, Erin, who she believes Larry should prioritize over Lucy. Anytime Lucy does go to their house, Dolores is very cold and unkind to Lucy, and she purposely excludes her. They rent a 3-bedroom house, yet when Lucy is there, she is forced to sleep on a love seat. They did not bother to get her a proper bed in her own space. There was even a time when Dolores and Larry were driving home with Lucy and Erin and went through Wendy's drive-thru. They got Erin a meal and a drink. When Lucy told them what she wanted, they told her no, that she can have something at their house like cereal. Larry and Dolores have an incredibly toxic, codependent relationship. Dolores has been fired from 4 jobs within a year. Larry hasn't had a car in about 5 years, so he's completely reliant on her car to get to his job. Neither can afford to live on their own, and Lucy says they fight constantly. She no longer enjoys being there. A combination of Larry constantly bailing on her to how nasty Dolores is has made her not want to go. Not for overnights at least. She loves her dad, and we do have an amicable relationship 90% of the time. But his failure to stand up to Dolores is starting to cause issues. I've told him Lucy does not feel welcome there, and I refuse to force her to go if she doesn't want to. I would never stop her from going, but I will not force her either. He says she's 10, and Thomas and I are a-holes for basically letting Lucy make this decision on her own. So, am I the a-hole for leaving this decision up to my child? Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. They are treating your daughter badly. If your daughter doesn't want to go, she has good reasons. You are just trying to protect your daughter. You're Rex as the a-hole. Did he even try to deny the Wendy's incident or her sleeping arrangements? Nope. He tries to justify it. He said Erin was hungry from her soccer game and needed dinner. Which, are you kidding me? And he just says, oh, we're getting her a bed soon. Which he's said this for over a year. So it's one reason I told him she's no longer to spend the night there. And the fact that she doesn't have her own space is becoming increasingly important the older she gets. She's 10. What's he going to do when she's 12? Or older? This is not a 4-year-old. He is quite a douche, and so is Dolores. Thomas and I say the same thing. What is he going to do when she's 12? 13. It's just ridiculous. Get her a pull-out futon for Christ's sake. Anything better than a love seat. Not a hole. But go to court and get full custody and child support. No court would allow Lucy at her dad's house unless he has a bed for her. I'm in favor of amicable co-parenting relationships, but not fighting him about this may hurt Lucy in the long run. You need to do everything you can to make sure Lucy's dad is accountable as a parent, because right now, he is being enabled to be a terrible father. He clearly isn't taking that initiative on his own. Not a hole. 10-year-olds deserve to set their own boundaries. That sounds like a horrible situation, and I think you're doing the right thing not forcing her. If Larry can't get it together, he's going to be very confused when Lucy turns 18 and goes completely no contact. Also curious, it sounds like drug-related at the beginning? Could that be a contributing factor now? I've considered the substance issue thing regarding the money. I do have suspicions at the time that he was abusing prescription pain meds, but could never prove this, which is one of my reasons for ending it. I've never seen anything as of late since the divorce that leads me to think he is abusing still. However, I do constantly keep my eyes open. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying I don't want to do gifts anymore with my family because they come with conditions that I only find out about later? My parents have a habit of giving a gift and then later adding conditions on. I'll give a couple examples. I got a gift card for them all at Christmas. Thought it was just a gift. But then weeks later, I've had made plans of how to spend the money. Sports gear. My parents said the first thing I needed to buy was school supplies for the spring. Then I could use the rest on fun stuff. Then after that, I'd need to buy clothes for school to replace the clothes I thought were fine. But then I could spend the rest on myself. After they made me buy all that, nothing was left. I felt like all I got for Christmas was the hassle of being made to go out and buy things I don't want. When I get gifts for my birthday, my parents held it over my head, like to say that on a family vacation I'd be the childcare for my siblings, nieces, and nephews. Or else they'd take back the phone and hockey gear I got as a gift. When I asked for money for a school trip, my parents gave it to me, but then told me a month later that I had to miss a game to help my dad with housework, to repay them for paying for the trip. I find it frustrating when a gift comes with a secret conditions that I don't find out till weeks or months later. It feels less like a gift and more like a favor to call in later, or something told over my head. So when my birthday was coming up this year, my mom asked me what I wanted, and said I'd rather skip gifts with a family. My mom asked me why, and I told her that I think gifts, at least the way our family has done them, are more stressful than nice. It seems like they treat gifts as something with conditions but aren't clear what those conditions are when they're offering a gift. So then it feels like signing a contract that I wasn't allowed to read when I accept a gift. I have no idea what I'll owe, and for the next few weeks or months, I'll be waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then I told her I'd rather skip the family party and the gift giving and just do something chill with my friends. My mom was upset with me, saying stuff about tradition and how she doesn't do that I was cherry-picking frustrations when most gifts aren't like that. I said that I felt like it was more often than not. She told my dad about the conversation, and he was really upset with me, saying I was being ungrateful, and that when I was living under his roof, there were going to be conditions. Can't just go do whatever I want whenever. I said, okay, but I'd rather not have those conditions be linked to gift giving and holidays, because it makes holidays an unpleasant time for me. And that he can have rules, but he can't make anyone take a gift if they've decided they don't want to accept gifts. I was grounded for talking back like that. Am I the a-hole for having told my parents no birthday gifts? Not the a-hole. If they insist on giving gifts anyway, just put them to the side. And when they give you the surprise condition, give them the gift back. It will happen. My in-laws were that way. But I don't think that would make Opie any happier. He gives the money back that he doesn't want to buy school supplies and clothes with, and they'll buy him the school supplies and clothes. Because guess what? He needs them. He gives them the money back for the school trip. But now he can't go on a school trip that he clearly wants to go on because he asked for the money. Better advice would be to get a job, so his parents can give him the money for the school supplies that he can pay for his own school trip. I would be a lot happier because at least things would be predictable. The most frustrating thing about the gift as one half of a bargain, but you don't know what bargain that will be until much later, is the anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop. At least that would be predictable. I don't go on the trip, I don't get school supplies, but I also don't get some unpleasant surprise about what I later owe as repayment for the gift. Not day home. You got grounded because they were called out on their BS and they had nothing else to reply with. They retaliated instead. If you don't want gifts or parties, that's your choice. It's your birthday. And if they hold parties and gifts over your head as favors, they are more loan sharks than parents.
Am I the a-hole for not having a problem with my dad's family, not wanting a relationship with my 3-year-old half-sister? My mom and dad's family hate each other now because when my dad was terminally ill, my mom freaked out on him and had to be removed from his hospital room. What I know about what led to that is my mom cheated on my dad and he found out about it. He refused to forgive her or give his blessing for her to be with someone else. A few weeks after he found out, he changed what he was doing with his will and assets, set up a trust fund for me, and put his twin in charge of it instead of my mom. He added a bunch of his things to the trust too. When my mom found out, she flipped, and that's when she yelled at him. She called my dad selfish, a worthless POS, and told him to drop dead already, so she could be free from the role of nurse wife. I heard her, and so did my grandparents and dad's twin. The rest of his siblings were somewhere else, but once that incident happened, they and my mom fought relentlessly until my dad died. Then, when he was gone, she tried to keep me from them and only stopped when I told her I hated her and wished she wasn't my mom. She got upset and asked why I'd say that, and I told her I heard what she called my dad and said to him, and I knew she had upset him before too. She tried to make things better between us, but I couldn't forgive her for how she acted and for hating my dad when she was the one who betrayed him. Her relationship with my dad's family doesn't exist anymore, and they don't even talk about me now that I'm 17 and can make plans without her. When I was 13, she got married again, and when I was 14, she had my half-sister. My mom's an only child, and her parents died before she had me. Her husband doesn't have a relationship with his family. They adopted grandparents from an old folks' home when my half-sister was a baby, but those people died. So my mom decided my dad's family should step in because of me. She said we're siblings and half doesn't matter, and they should love my half-sister because she's my family. And she said I should want them to, that I should make them be there for her, so she doesn't grow up feeling unwanted. It's been like this for more than a year now. My mom brings it up every time I talk to or see someone in my dad's family. When I wouldn't ask them, she showed up at a family day and asked them to include my half-sister and to be her family, so she grew up not feeling so different and distant from me. My dad's family told her they wanted nothing to do with my half-sister and that she isn't their family and never will be. My mom expected me to leave with her, but I stayed. Since that happened, my mom has been on my case more, and she's asking me if this is the kind of man I want to be. We fought, and I said stuff about her, how I still feel about her, and how I feel about my half-sister. I told her I didn't care that my dad's family said no to having a relationship with my half-sister, that I don't care, and it's her and her husband's problem to deal with, not mine. She told me I should care because it's my innocent half-sister we're talking about, not her, my mom, and the fight just escalated. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and I worry your mom is either high on something or very delusional. Why in the world would the parents of her deceased husband even acknowledge her affair baby? She says it's because my half-sister is my family, and my dad's family should think of the innocent kid. I think she even expects me to feel different if my dad's family actually starts to love my half-sister. But for years now, my mom has been different, or she's just let out how awful she is. So much nonsense from her has made me see her way different than I used to. Maybe she should have thought about your dad's family before she screwed another man? Even if new hubby came on the scene after your dad was gone, his parents don't owe her kids squat. I think she was with more than one guy when dad was sick. Her husband she met after. It got them into trouble because they worked together. I couldn't keep reading. My blood started boiling. Not the a-hole. Your sister is not that family's blood. And honestly, when you're able to move out, I say you seek your dad's family, seeing as your mom is trying to manipulate and gaslight you. I'm already moving in with them a few days before my birthday. We talked about it, and we have a plan for how it'll work without any hysteria from my mom. Not the a-hole. Also, she's 3, so how are they to have a relationship without mom involved? She's delusional. I even said that in a comment. It's wild to think with their history, my dad's family would be willing to deal with mom for a kid who isn't related to them and who even I don't even care about, beyond her being innocent, and I don't wish bad stuff on her or anything. Next story. Am I the a-hole for resisting family therapy and telling my bio parents I miss my real parents? My bio parents have me, 16 female, and my brother, 17 male, in family therapy with them because they want us to get over our grief and trauma and do more for them and our younger siblings. When my bio parents had my brother and then me, they were in their early 20s and let our grandparents take over most of the parental responsibilities. We practically lived with them, although not officially. We spent 7 days a week at our grandparents' house, and they took care of us. We'd sleep at our bio parents' place, but not every night, so sometimes we didn't see them for days. When I was about 6, my bio parents started trying for a baby, and I was 7 when they started over and had another kid, and then 2 more after that. My bio parents were more settled, but their focus was on the babies, and we were still at our grandparents' house every day. Eventually, we just felt like our grandparents were our real parents, and we called them mom and dad when talking to others, and our bio parents by their names. We actually always called our bio parents by their first names. When I was 13, Grandpa died in a car crash. Then, 6 months later, when my brother and I were staying with Grandma for a few nights, she had a huge seizure out of nowhere, and she died. We found her having the seizure, and the 2 of us were alone with her when she died. We were 14 and 15. It's been so hard without them. I miss my parents. And to me, they are my parents in all the ways that really count, because they did more for us than our bio parents ever did. Our bio parents didn't care what we'd gone through and expected us to just handle things on our own. But they started getting annoyed that we weren't acting like part of the family and didn't take over the oldest kid chores. We were self-sufficient, but didn't do anything for anyone else. We basically lived like we were adults with roommates we needed to avoid. Our bio dad told us we had better start doing more if we expected anything from them. Then our bio mom told us we needed to stop acting like we died when Grandma and Grandpa did and realize we owed something to the household we were living in. My brother told her to put us in foster care then, but she said that would never happen because they'd be on the hook for child support. Our younger siblings were confused by it all, and we're more like strangers because we never spent time with them or had any relationship, and we still don't. When my bio mom heard me cry to my brother about missing our parents, she said that was enough, and we needed therapy to get this situation fixed. I didn't want therapy, and I don't want a better relationship with my bio parents. I'd prefer they send me somewhere else instead of pretending we're an actual family or that they were ever real parents to us. They tell the therapist every week they want her to fix us, so we'll get the heck over it. Last week, when our session got intense with my bio parents arguing with the therapist, I told them I miss my real parents, and I'll never stop missing the real parents who actually raised me. Because of what I said, they were more angry at me for not trying in therapy and for saying something like that to make the therapist dig deeper into things. Am I the a-hole? Therapy won't be what they think it will be. Any good therapist will tell them they need to respect your grief. Not the a-hole. Exactly this. Grief doesn't have a timeline, and it definitely can't be pushed aside just because it makes other people uncomfortable. You're not refusing to heal. You're just being honest about where you're at and what you need. A real therapist would validate that, not force a narrative that ignores your pain. I am so sorry for your losses. Can you call the therapist yourself before the next session and request time with the therapist without your parents? I think therapy could be a great tool, but not if you can't speak freely and are going to be in trouble for what you say. There may be some options to get emancipated from your parents. Your therapist may be able to hook you up with a guardian ad litem who could help you navigate the court. There may be other options as well. There's nothing wrong with missing your parents. What is wrong is how your biological parents are treating you. My bio parents refused therapy for me and my brother alone, which was suggested by the therapist, so we can't have sessions alone with a therapist. I don't know if we'd be realistically able to meet the criteria for emancipation because we would need to be able to support ourselves, and everything's so expensive now. But we're both saving. You may be able to consent to treatment at the age 16. You can in Kentucky. May seriously be something to look into. I'm a therapist in the state. I didn't know about that. I'll look and see if we can do that here. Although paying would be an issue right now, still doesn't hurt to look. Thank you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad and his fiancée how I truly feel and sending my dad into a deep depression? I am 18 male, am an only child. I live with my mom full-time. My parents are divorced. Some quick context. My entire life, my mom always picked up after me and my dad. They both worked full-time, but my mom handled breakfast, lunch, dinner, groceries, cleaning, laundry. What did my dad do? Mow the lawn, shovel snow, fix things like the sink if it ever broke. When I was younger, I always loved my dad because he would do fun things with me. Take me to sports games, play with me in the yard sometimes, buy me McDonald's or ice cream. He was the fun parent, and my mom was the caring one. She always made me food, helped me in school, packed my bags, comforted me when I was sad, and took care of me when I was sick. When I got older, I started to realize more and more how much my mom did, while my dad would sit on the couch and watch TV or stuff like that. My mom asked me when I was quite young to help her out with cleaning, etc., and I remember I would get mad at her when she asked. I didn't want to clean. Who does? But one day, after she got annoyed that I didn't even pick up after myself, I yelled at her to leave me alone. I was probably like 12, and that day I heard her cry in the bathroom afterward. When I realized I made her cry, it clicked in my head that she was doing everything for us, and Dad did barely anything. And I did absolutely nothing at all. It felt like I grew up super quickly over the course of a week, and I started helping my mom a lot more. It became a bonding thing for us, talking and helping each other out with cleaning and groceries, etc. My dad was still the fun parent, would take me to games and all that, but I grew more and more annoyed that he didn't help out at all. I think when I was about 14, I once said to his face that he never helps out around the house, and he got furious with me. He yelled in my face and sent me to my room. My mom comforted me and told me to just let him be. You and I got this alone anyway. The few times he was dragged into helping, he would always make a mess somehow, and it would end in an argument between him and Mom. I've realized now he most likely did a bad job on purpose, so we wouldn't ask him for help. When I was 15, Mom found out that Dad cheated. He had been for like a year. They had the biggest fight ever, and my dad left us that night to live with his mistress and her daughter from a previous marriage. He came a few days later and picked most of his stuff up. I don't remember much about how the divorce went, other than my mom being a wreck. When it was finalized, she honestly broke down even more. I fed her, helped her into the shower, held her at night. I've never seen her that bad, and if I didn't hate my dad for what he had done in general, I started absolutely despising him for what he did to Mom. Family from Mom's side would help us too. But it was mostly me since no one could really move in and stay with us full-time. I picked up a job at 16 to help at home. It took my mom maybe half a year to start getting back to her old self. She grew into someone better, happier, and I had never seen her so full of life when she was with Dad. A month or two after the divorce was over, my dad started pushing for me to live with him 50% of the time. I told him to buzz off basically, but Mom said I shouldn't shut him out completely. So I went to him every other weekend. He tried to be all nice to me and so did his mistress, but I hated their guts. The mistress, let's call her Hannah, tried to be nice to me, but also bossed me around, and I basically ignored her. Her daughter tried to bond with me, but I ignored her. Barely even a year after the divorce was over, Hannah got pregnant, and they had another daughter. Dad and Hannah have tried to push for me to be a big brother for them, but I couldn't care about them less. Now I'm 18, and I gradually stopped going to my dad's. I barely ever stay a night, I just visit, and my dad keeps trying to blame my mom for it. Hannah gives me more and more attitude, and tries to use her daughters to guilt me into staying over, saying they miss their big brother. You're so selfish. We had a big confrontation when I visited last. I stayed for 20 minutes before Hannah started trying to lecture me, so I just started leaving. Dad blocked my way and told me I have to grow up and leave the past in the past. He said I can't be mad forever and I'm acting as if I don't love him, and that we're all family. That just set me off. I started screaming at him that I haven't loved him in years. I told him that he was always a lazy POS who acted more like a child than a husband to Mom. She always cleaned up after him, cleaned the house alone, washed his clothes, made him food, fetched him another beer, even though the kitchen was 5 steps away. But all that ever came out of his mouth were complaints and demands. I told him he took me out to do fun things, sure, but that's not all there is to being a dad. He was never there for me, helped me in school, drove me anywhere or picked me up, comforted me. And then he did the worst possible thing. After years of standing on my mother's back and using her, he went and banged a random woman and absolutely broke her. I screamed about how a kid had to pick up the pieces of his own mother because his father was such a POS and useless garbage. I felt nothing for him. In fact, I hated his guts still, and I hated his mistress too. I turned to Hannah and told her that she means nothing to me. She has no authority over me. I don't give a damn about her or her kids. I told them both I wished nothing bad on their daughters. But Hannah is a horrible person for filling her kids' heads with lies about how I'm their brother, when I've repeatedly told them I'm not. Then I looked my dad in the eyes and said, my father was dead to me years ago, and that man wasn't even a good dad. You're just a stranger to me. I pushed my way past him and left. When I got home, I told my mom everything and cried. She hugged me and told me she understands my emotions, but wishes I wasn't so aggressive, for my own sake. My mom has never said a bad thing about my dad despite everything, and when I would curse him out, she always told me it wasn't worth it. My dad and his new family were silent for a few days, but then Hannah started bombarding me with texts about how I was a horrible son, and how my dad hasn't stopped crying since. I know he always wanted a son and wanted a close bond, but he's failed me as a father, and I don't care. But family from Hannah's side, I've met like once or not at all, have also started messaging me saying I was out of line and everyone makes mistakes. But I don't think it's a mistake. I genuinely think my dad's a POS and I don't owe him anything. But I guess all the hate from so many people has me doubting myself. Maybe I should have just left without a word? So yeah, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole OP. Your father created this mess, and now he has to live with the consequences of his actions. I would block numbers of everyone who is supporting him, as you don't need their negativity. I would also suggest counseling of some sort, not for anyone else but yourself. And I would tell his side piece and her flying monkeys that any further harassment from them will lead to you seeking a restraining order. I'd be telling her to watch out too, because any day now, Dad will be looking to fill the empty mistress role. Go no contact. He is a POS you don't need to waste time on. People really need to start living with the consequences of their actions. The rate at which I read stories like this is starting to get alarming.